Best of r/confessions episode 13. Subscribe for Reddit videos daily. I am incredibly turned off by people who can't focus on a movie and will almost immediately lose all interest in them. I love films and reviewing them as a hobby, but I understand many people don't. I don't mind if a person doesn't like movies or just isn't feeling a particular one. Those aren't the kind of people this post is about. This is about people who claim to love movies but can't pay attention to save their own lives. You can do some small simple tasks and still focus on a movie, but it becomes extremely obvious when you aren't paying attention. I've had some men be like this but notice it far more with women. I was seeing this girl for a bit and things were going decently, so we decided to finally have a movie night together. She was insistent that she loved movies and that horror was her favorite. We went through her list on Netflix and both agreed on Hereditary. I'd already seen the film but don't mind rewatching a good one that someone with me will enjoy. Film starts and almost immediately she stops paying attention and begins to focus on literally everything else. She left the room numerous times for various things, getting up at random, and insisted that I didn't pause it because she was still paying attention. I tried to be accommodating by asking if she wanted to watch or do something else, and she told me she wanted to keep watching. She looks back to the screen when the girl dies and her first reaction was, "Who's that? Why did she die?" 35 minutes into the movie and she doesn't even know who one of the main characters is. I asked her if she knew anything that happened so far and she basically hit me with the eye roll version of an IDK LOL like it was no big deal. Was it a big deal in the grand scheme of things? Maybe not, but at that point I found I lost all romantic interest in her. Came across as a waste of my time when we could have been doing something else. Thank you. Next. I'm wearing my hair down today. I don't really have anyone else to tell, but basically I've worn my hair tightly up in a ponytail or bun since I was 12. Every single day. I haven't left the house with it down in 6 years. I think it stems from my time at my very strict primary school / part of secondary school which only allowed girls to wear their hair up, and you were punished if you wore it down. Boys had to keep their hair shorter than their collar too. Well, today I've decided I'm sick of feeling like I have to wear it up. Wearing it down in public gives me extreme anxiety, and I feel almost naked, but I'm just going to go for it today, because I've always hated what it looks like up, but I've never been confident enough to just let it down. I don't really have anyone who I can tell about this, and I know it isn't really a big deal, but it's a very big deal to me, and I'm quite proud of myself, so, yeah, thank you. Next. My brother is ruining his and his family's life and I hope it does. I grew up in a family of 6 as the second oldest child. My brother is 4 years my elder. Growing up he would cause all sort of problems in the family by stealing, drugs, fighting etc. And he was sent to prison at 18 for trying to rob a credit union. What an idiot. He served 2 years. Since his release he has settled down with his antics and is no longer doing anything illegal, but he is the most lazy person I've ever met. He has been released for almost 5 years now and he can't hold a stable job at all, and it's not because of his police record, it's because of pure laziness. He has had maybe 7-10 jobs since being released and the longest one he lasted it was maybe a month. 2 years ago he had a son, and since then he has basically depended on the support of my parents and the state and has no intentions of supporting himself anymore because his life is too chill. Him and his partner both collect social welfare. $500/m. They get child benefits too. $150/m. The state gave them a newly built 3-bedroom beautiful house and they just have to pay $50/m on that. And they still rely on my parents for money and food etc. They have no concept of money. He also tries begging his younger siblings for money too. He is currently 25. I'm 21. The middle sister is 18 and the youngest is 11. And he begs us all to support him, and they do. I moved out at 18 to another country to get away from my family and I'm doing really good for myself. And he knows this so tries to guilt trip. However, I have no sympathy for him or his partner. My parents are sweet and hardworking, but they're enablers and that's what's going to ruin them too. They've already got so much debt and recently my parents lost their jobs due to COVID and as sad as I am for my parents, I couldn't be happier. They'll no longer to be able to support my brother's lazy lifestyle and I hope it gives him a wake-up call but I know it won't. Rant over. Thank you. Next. I just had to poop in a bag. So I live in a 1-bedroom apartment with my boyfriend. For 4th of July, we had 5 people total in the apartment, and one of those people is guilty of clogging our only toilet. Boyfriend insists on meeting up at the beach with some friends, one of which had insulted me, so I don't care to be around them anymore, because they were more fun to drink with, as he wanted to show his brother from out of town a good time. So I'm hanging out at the apartment by myself and everyone heads out. A few minutes later I get a text saying, "Oh BTW, don't flush the toilet, it's clogged." I had planned on drinking and playing video games with my friend from back home, but that comes with me having to piss every 5 minutes, and I didn't want to pee in the sink. So I begin frantically trying to unclog the toilet with our dollar store plunger we never thought we'd have to use. Nothing. Wish I had the idea to go buy a decent plunger. But hindsight is 2020. I text my boyfriend. No response. I call the apartment office and ask if they had a maintenance worker on call on 4th of July. They said they'd send him over as soon as possible, but it may be a while. Then the giant breakfast my dad cooked me before he headed home began to hit me. I had to shit soon. I couldn't go to a gas station or fast food restaurant because of COVID. I couldn't shit in the sink. I couldn't shit outside in a bush. BC, it's 2 in the afternoon and there's people everywhere. But time is ticking and it gets to the point I have to go now or I'll shit my pants. So I shit in a doggy poop bag and had to pretend my Chewini had taken a human-sized dump when I made the walk of shame to the doggy poop trash can. Didn't want it in my own trash can and I was still in panic mode. The maintenance man came by 5 minutes later with a nicer plunger and fixed it in 2 seconds, and I sent him home with cookies. Bless his soul. Thank you. Next. I constantly have dreams where I'm being rejected in some form. They are so realistic and heartbreaking and I don't know how to stop having them. Sometimes in these dreams I am being rejected by a love interest, but it's usually deeper than that, like I'm getting snuffed by a good friend or find out my family doesn't actually like me. Just things like that almost every night. It's started getting more consistent this past year, even though in real life I am actually doing well and am getting my shit together. I don't understand this and wish they would stop. Thank you. Next. I overdosed on Viagra once. It was the hardest day of my life. Thank you. Next. A story about a girl and a very cute boy. I'm on mobile, so my apologies for any mistakes. This is about me, F. 22, and a guy I met, M. 23. To give a little backstory, my ex broke up with me back in February because they didn't love me anymore, and we hadn't been intimate for a month or so before that. Fast forward to an incredibly sad me in early April and I am on Tinder for some attention, not physical meeting, you know, the virus, and no commitments, to help me gain a little confidence in myself. I was honest with people about what I was there for and people would take it or leave it. I am swiping one day to see an account of a very cute boy who had, to my surprise, super liked me. I gave him a like back and we instantly hit it off with some really harmless and flirty banter / arguing about Avatar, The Last Airbender, and soon moved to Snapchat. We talked every day and night for a few weeks and I learned that he was 6.5 hours away. I don't have a car. How the hell could I expect him to make that trip until I can buy one? Don't worry, I've been saving for one. Sadly, we both started to get different schedules and were unable to talk as much as we had when we met, and soon stopped talking for about a week or so. I then receive a message from him and I was really excited to see his name pop up on my phone. He was reaching out because he didn't want to lose a chance meeting me when some quarantines were lifted. It made my heart feel so warm that he reached back out to me. Unfortunately, we wouldn't be able to meet for a long time due to his work, and I was waiting to see if I could trust him to quarantine himself, as I am living with some family for my last year of my bachelor's. I talked to them and they were alright with him visiting, as long as he stayed in a hotel and quarantines himself. I relay the information, he agrees, and we text for a few more weeks. In early June, the cute boy asked me if he could visit early July and it was totally on. He told me he wouldn't mind the drive at all. He says he loves to drive, and he makes trips like that every so often to see his family. I was elated. He booked a nearby hotel a few days later and then we were just waiting for the day to come. I hadn't even hung out with another person since March, and I was ready to have some damn sex again. I wasn't expecting to make a connection, but I was really hoping for it. Finally Wednesday night rolls around, and the cute boy shows up. My family adores him immediately and I am blushing because he is way cuter in person and such a gentleman. We ate dinner together and talked for a few hours and I go with him to his hotel and we have a very passionate night full of affection, desire, and so much sex. The next day he meets more of my family and my younger siblings love him. He was so good with kids, playing with them, joking around and talking riddles. He was such a freaking dreamboat. My little sister at one point had asked me if we were dating. She is 11, and I said not yet. She asked why and I said it was because he hadn't asked me. The cute boy and I hadn't really talked about that much because it was our first time meeting in person. We had FaceTimed plenty of times before that but in person is just different. On the ride back to the hotel he tells me that my sis told him to ask me to be his girlfriend. I blush again and we both laugh about it. After we watched some shows and vines together later that evening before a night of drinking, he looks at me and says, well, I know this is how your sister knows it should work. Do you want to be my girlfriend? I laugh and say I guess. Sure, why not? We both laugh again. I say yes and we kiss. We meshed so well. Every second of the time we spent together was incredibly fun. He is such a sweetheart and really took my breath away. Today was the day he left, and as of now we have been talking for about 4 months and dating for 2 days. I felt weird being with someone for what feels like too soon since my last breakup but he really is a catch. He told me that the drive here is going to be an easy trip because he'll look forward to seeing me. I'm sorry my confession long, but I needed to share because I simply can't tell many people I know. I just had such a wonderful time. Thank you for reading. Have a great week and stay safe everyone.